Skateboarding. It is a sport that has been around for nearly a century now, and yet it seems like it's getting less and less popular by the day. This is probably due to the fact that skateboarding in general is a very dangerous sport, and it is very tedious to learn. It requires a lot of practice and a lot of dedication. Now, today I would like to go over the ollie in hopes that it will spike interest in skateboarding to anyone who is watching this video. But before we get into how to ollie, I would like to talk a little bit about skateboarding in general and how it has evolved over the years. At first, skateboarding was simply just riding the skateboard on the ground and never leaving the ground. Eventually then, they realized that they could ramp off with these skateboards and do all sorts of tricks and whatnot with the use of ramps and quarter pipes and half pipes. Once this started to become a thing, Alan Ollie Gelfand actually developed the first ollie. He coined the term ollie using his middle name. But when he performed the ollie, the way he did it was by leaving one ramp and landing onto another. He never actually did anything with his feet or the board besides using that momentum and keeping his balance to land and transition from one ramp to the other. It wasn't until 3 years later, in 1981, when Ronnie Mullen actually developed the ollie we will be discussing today, the flat ground ollie. This ollie is actually done simply on the ground, without the need of any other ramps or any other foreign object, just simply the board, your feet, and the ground. Once Ronnie Mullen developed this new trick, it gave way to a whole new kind of skateboarding, which you now refer to as street skating. Once this started to blow up, so did the idea that boards need to actually change physically. Because at first, when I mentioned that boards, or when they were just simply riding around casually, the boards were very flat, they were much wider, and there was a very small tail at the end. And this was due to the fact that it was simply just for riding. Why not want a wide base to have your feet on, a lot more control, and there was no need for a tail or any concave, this U shape you see here in the middle. But once Ronnie Mullen developed the ollie and it changed the idea of skateboarding, the skateboard itself needed to adapt so it could meet these needs to actually perform these tricks. So now it actually has these lips on each end, has the concave as I've mentioned, so you can perform these tricks that now have been developed. And now also you can see that the board itself is a lot thinner width-wise, and this is due to weight. Because now that you're flipping the board with nothing but your own leg muscle and your own power, they wanted the board to be a little bit lighter so it's easier to maneuver. Less weight, more flips. So now to get into the ollie itself. So like I said, we're going to be going over the flat ground ollie that was created by Ronnie Mullen. So the first off, ollieing and skateboarding in general is very dangerous. So if you're going to be attempting this ollie, make sure you put 1, a lot of practice, and 2, maybe consider getting there's a product online you can buy that has rubber trucks instead of metal trucks and real wheels, so you can use it on the carpet inside, so then the board won't actually slide out from under your feet, you'll be landing on the carpet, it's a lot safer and it's a good way to practice. But now back to the ollie. So the ollie is 3 steps, but it is 3 steps that happen in such quick succession that really you need to do them almost simultaneously. But they do have a specific order at the end of the day. The first step is actually, so of course the board will start with all 4 wheels on the ground. The first step is getting the board up to a nice 45-degree angle like this. So this is your first step. You'll have all your feet on the board. You'll just get up to a 45-degree angle like that. Once you're up at this 45-degree angle, the next step is going to be using your front foot to slide forward, and this is actually what's lifting the board into the air. But when you're doing this step, you need to make sure that you're bending your foot inward and actually grazing the board with this part of your foot. If you use the bottom of your foot and just simply push outward, the board will either go down or straight out. So you need to use this part of your foot and roll it up the board, like that. The final step then is jumping, because you need to actually leave the ground physically yourself so that when you do this roll forward with your foot, that the board is actually coming up to where you are since you've jumped. This part is what's actually lifting the board once you've jumped. So putting all that together, looks like this. Looks like this. That is an ollie. But of course, that is pretty hard. So when practicing and learning an ollie, it's actually better to break down those steps and learn and practice each one individually, starting with getting back on your tail. This step is actually harder than it might look. So you want to get really comfortable with just going from all four wheels to the back two wheels, over and over again. And then once you have mastered that, then you can stay at this position and simply practice rolling your foot upward a little bit. Now this does really not need to be a dramatic step. Rolling your foot forward, it really just is ever so slightly, just a couple inches forward, like that. And you just want to sit there and practice this until you're comfortable doing this motion while you're in the air. Because then finally, you will need to jump. And that is when you start committing to the actual ollie. When you jump to put the whole thing together, you've actually left the ground, and now you're in the danger zone. So, I hope this was helpful for you to maybe start your hobby as a skateboarder. And I want to also stress that this ollie, this trick, is the foundation for other tricks. So it's good to start with knowing how to do this trick, because learning this essence of popping the board off of the ground without using anything else is going to be very important into future tricks to come. So thank you for watching, and I hope you pick up skateboarding.